what's it like being one of the longtime Balintawak FQI women? Is there any other FQI women? I don't know if
There's not, like, Glenda does not train anymore. And as far as the United States, no. I think there's some in Australia, but I just am very honored to have that privilege and to know that I'm still up there and people know who I am and help these women who are coming up. I do think that pretty quickly somebody else is going to be up there soon. Yeah. I see it. I feel it. There's some awesome young women who are really, got the moves, and and got the passion. So I love to see a passionate person up there, that wants to represent the women, because it's a great sport for women. But it's been 21 years.
Yeah, you've been the only FQI women that I've known of here in the U.S. I mean, I don't have full insights internationally, but yeah, that's pretty impressive. Kudos to you on that one.
Thank you.
And that's a hell of a run there.
Yeah, it is.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got here today from Maddie South Martial Arts School in North Carolina. Longtime Balintawak practitioner, been there as long as heck, before even I started. But this is Guru Sharon Infante-LOPARO. Guru Sharon, are you there?
I'm here. I'm glad to be here representing North Carolina.
Oh, there you go. Hey, welcome, North Carolina. Where are you from and where do you live?
I originally is from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So I'm not Filipino. I'm from Philadelphia.
Oh, wait, you're not? Oh.
So now I've been in Charlotte, North Carolina since 1980. So I've been here a long time.
Yeah, you're practically from there now.
Yeah. So I don't talk like anybody who watched Mayor of Easttown on HBO. I used to talk like that because I was from Delaware County. So if you watch that on HBO, that show, you'll know what I'm talking about.
So what is your Balintawak lineage?
Well, originally I started training with Francisco Gerlin back in, what was it now? 1995. So my kids were involved in an after school program in a private school they were going to. And I kind of got roped into helping with the class. And from there, I met Bobby. So the first time I met Bobby, he was coming to observe the class. It was our karate class in the after school program. And he would just like show up sometimes. And, Francisco would introduce him, as a Grandmaster. And I was totally freaked out because my kids and all the other kids are wild sometimes in the classes. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a Grandmaster here. And these kids are just crazy. So I was very nervous about it. And he would just sit there and be very quiet. So from that, I started training at the South School. At the time was in a different, Maddie South was in a different location. I started training there with some other women. And one of the other women that was training was Glenda Wolf. And so she was also a karate mom at another private school. So I was training with her and we trained together. And when Francisco left town for a while, I trained with her under Bobby's guidance. So she was moving up in her levels. I was moving up the way the art works. And so we trained mostly just with Bobby and the two of us. And then we got to 98, and she was training for her full qualified instructor. And I trained, and I was testing for my completion in 1998. So we did that together in the North School, where it is, owned by Erwin Carmichael up in Huntersville. I'm sure you've been there.
I remember the school.
So that's where she tested, and I tested as her student there. And so then Francisco came back and he was like, you really need to test for qualified instructor, and I'm like, so he really pushed me to do it. Cause like I was scared to death. I was like, how am I gonna do 25 techniques? And because we always said we have to have 25 just in case like one was no good,
You got to pull one out of the hat.
Right. So we kept training for that. And Bobby, I trained a lot just with Bobby, private lessons or with Glenda or Francisco or some of my students, because I was bringing them up. And Bobby would always say, listen, if you do good on your test, you're my student. If you don't, you're not.
That's a good disclaimer there.
Yes, so he would always say that. If you do good on your test, you're my student. So I really, really had the benefit of being here in Charlotte. And we were always at his house training. And so then I had 2 students under my belt. I had one guy named Tony Stranford, who is a pilot for FedEx. And he was my first, that went through completion. And then Wendy.
So who was your completion for testing?
Tony Stranford.
Okay.
And he worked for FedEx. He was located in Charlotte at the time, and he's moved back and forth. He's back in Charlotte.
Any of your students out there teaching and got their own schools that you know of, or probably?
I would say not really, but I had my hands on a lot of people because Jeffrey Soriano, when he would come down, sometimes he would come down and train with me. And when Bobby wasn't around, and then I had a place at Lake Norman, which he worked up there for a little bit, and he would stay up there, and I trained with him there. And then I also had my hands on, in the beginning, Brian, Corey, and so who else? Another, also Tom. He came to my school at nights on Tuesday nights. So there's a lot of people I've worked with, but weren't totally my students. I was just like, I help polish them.
Yeah,
I help pin them down or polish them.
You've been there as long as from the beginning of when I started, so I know one of the ones to jump on in and help polish everybody out.
Yeah.
Now, why did you choose Balintawak?
During these classes that we would have at the karate school teaching us karate, sticks came up. And so I started learning it. And actually, I really loved it a lot. And it seemed to me something easier for me to do. I would say not, because it didn't involve takedowns and things like that, which, I was doing for the Kempo karate and stuff, but it was sort of, I don't know, it just was something about it that really interested me. And so I really, really worked on my levels through that. And I had really kind of stalled out on my Kempo for many years, like 8 years before I finally tested through the black belt. But, so I liked the movement. I liked the fact that it was leverage. I liked for a woman to be able to do that, because it really isn't about upper body strength, even though it seems like it would be. And so it isn't. And I like that I could do something that like a guy would think that he could just push me around, but I couldn't be pushed around so easily. So it was just, and it was fun, and people were respectful. They weren't, belittling to me. They, included me. And I like the way the art works, where you're to move on, you're teaching, and it's respectful, and everybody's rooting for everybody. It's not like people are like, that guy's such a get him when he comes up here. You know what I mean? It was like, usually like we're all like, yes, go, keep going, you can do it.
Keep going. Smack him around. Hit him there, hit him there.
Hit him. And I like the fact when you get tagged and Bobby hits you, it like makes you laugh. You like it. So you're like, yes, oh, that was good. You don't get like pissed
like,
at it.
and how do I block it next time?
Yeah, yeah, you're not like, you don't get mad. You're like, yeah, that's great. You know, so anyway.
Awesome. And then how was your FQI journey experience? Any major hurdles or challenges going for
Well, you know, yeah. So it was really funny because I was telling this guy at my appointment today. I was telling you earlier that I had this appointment with this stretch lab place I go. So I was saying, I'm going to try to think of a story. So I'm going to tell you the story about the completion of, my full qualified instructing the test. So that was back in 2000. So, and I was 20, no.
we'll leave that part out.
Yeah. So no, I was 12. So back in 2000, it was in Las Vegas. So it was like this big thing in Las Vegas, but somehow I don't know what happened, but a lot of people ended up not being able to come. So it was supposed to be a Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. So the last minute, they're like, you know what? We're not going to do it Sunday. We're going to still have the seminar, but we're cutting back on the time, and we're not going to have it on Sunday. So it'll all be squished into basically one day. Yeah, all squished into one day.
Whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was the only one testing for a qualified instructor, and Patrick was testing for his completion. So, the night before, which is Friday night, we all get to the hotel, and in the middle of the night, all the electricity goes out in the entire hotel.
Oh.
And I'm like, oh my God. And this loudspeaker comes on, which is in your room, which I never knew there was one. It's like, stay in your room. Do not go in the hallways. Stay in your room. It's a power outage. And you can hear people's phones ringing and stuff. And I'm like, I'm scared to death. I'm stuck in this room by myself. And Eric Lawrence is down the hall, and you know, and so like it didn't come on for hours, but I'm like, how will I know what time it is? Tomorrow's my test. I'm like, am I going to be able to take my test? You know, so it was horrible. It was just horrible. So, you know, we didn't get to sleep well or whatever. So in the morning we get up and I'm like, oh my God, are we still going to have this test? Because it was awful last night. So we were like, yeah. But since the seminar had shrunk down in size, we didn't have one of those giant, you know, some of those ones we've had have been in giant meeting rooms, but instead it was in a nightclub. Oh. So we had to push all the tables and chairs back in this small nightclub, and it had a little stage in there. And then outside of the nightclub were all the machines, you know, the slot machines. So the whole time you're in there, you're ding, 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 you know. And then there was power surges the entire time we were in there. And I'm like, this is so messed up, you know.
So you were in the middle of telling us about the power surge.
Yeah, and then we got power surge.
And then we got power surge down.
Yeah. So what I started to say is, because I was the only one testing for, you know, qualified instructor, I had to do all 25 or 24 of my techniques straight in a row. So that's tough, you know,
because you're
like,
not only doing a technique,
all in a row, you know,
you're also following through and whoo.
Yes. Yeah. And that's after all day training, you know, and, you know, doing all the other things. So sometimes it depends on the test, but back in the day and back when there's not so many people testing, you do actually have to go from the beginning all the way through, you know, from 12 basic strikes to, you know, everything. So level 1 all the way through. So you're like tired. Wow. And it's late, and, you know, and during the disarms, I had a little mishap on disarm number 1 on the number 2 side, you know, on that side, not this side, but that side. No, this side, that side. So anyway, there was a little bit of slipperiness, and 2 sticks flew. So I wasn't quite sure if I was actually going to pass my test. And I can remember at the end of that portion that I was so like there was so much adrenaline in me. I swear to God, I thought my hair was standing straight up on my head because it was like, you know what I mean? I was standing there, I was like, oh my God, that. And I actually went like this because I thought my hair was standing straight up because I was just like so like crazed, you know, or whatever. So anyway, then there was the questions and stuff. And I guess I played with everybody. I just don't even remember. I do remember at the completion doing that and the questions and everything. So
how many people did you think you
well, I'm looking at the picture. So it was it was Irwin, it was George Pennifield, Bobby, and it was Bob Sullen. Glenda was still training, Rick Mitchell, and my partner Francisco Gerlin that were on the board there.
You said you have a picture there. Can you flash it there? That's
little because it's just a copy.
Oh,
it's on my Facebook.
I've seen that.
It's part of because I've been helping Garth with the book, and it's one of the pictures. So so at the time, Bobby had said to me, "You sure you have your student?" I said, "Yeah. Remember, I had Tony and Wendy." And he said, "Well, you passed. We're checking you back up in October." So this was in July. So there was a fall camp in October, and it was at Gold's Gym where we were we had this little class called Sticks and Kicks that Francisco and I used to do. And then we also had a stick class on a certain night. So that was a bigger seminar. And so he made me redo, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 of my techniques before he gave me my wooden certificate, you know, or plaque or whatever. So that was
the one with the eagle.
Yes, that one. Which
yeah,
people don't get anymore, right?
I know. Peter George had one, Ray had one, and I'm like, huh.
Where's
now I was like, let me ask Jim Bobby.
Yeah. And then I went back and was looking at all my certificates that I have in this book over here. And I'm like, none of them are dated. Because remember, he would give out the certificate. You fill it out.
Somebody posted on one of the somebody posted their certificate this few years back, and I like what somebody said. Hey, welcome to the club of nameless certificates. I was like, hey, that's a good welcome to the club of nameless certificates.
Somebody knows how to do calligraphy, and then we could get it done nice. But and I'll never forget, there was one student that Jeff trained, and also Brian Sloyer, they were in affiliation with. And this guy tested, and oh my God, I can't remember. Lewis, his name was Lewis, and he said, "And this certificate, I can't even read these names." You're up there and you're signing all of them. And he's like, "I can't even read this name." I said, "That's my name." That's my signature. But I did help train him too. So at least he's like, "Why are those people all signing my certificate?" And I'm like, "That is my name." And I did help him.
That's me. When you can't read, that's me. So let's talk about your 24 techniques.
Dude.
What were your inspirations when coming up with your 24 techniques?
Well, as I was training figuring them out, we were kind of like, okay, so we're going to do them to make them easier to remember. Let's do them off like the grouping systems. You know what I mean? So, so that would be, we would start with that. And also, I told you that Francisco was my Oogie, my partner, which of course he was very fantastic with throws and takedowns, you know what I mean? And he looked really good, and stuff. So he told me everyone had to be a takedown, but a disarm. I had to disarm him every time and do a takedown, because if I took him down and he still had his stick, he could get hurt on his stick. So he wants me to disarm him, every one of them, and take them down. So that's kind of how I started it. So I started writing them out, and and then I remember one time we were taking a flight back from somewhere, might have been California, and I was making them up along the way. And I still have the paper. You know what I mean? And it's like this language that, do you even know what it means? You know what I mean? Like, here's the papers. You know, the one I wrote them down, you know, and I was like, now to go back and read it, I'm like, what did that mean? You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I did it and kind of could remember it. But there was a lot of, so I used a lot of Kempo because that's where I got my black belt. And eventually became a third degree black belt because I used, for the second degree, I used the stick fighting. And then the third degree, I was teaching Kempo karate for Irwin for 20 plus years at the after school program at Charlie Country Day. So anyway, so that's kind of how I did them, but I had to make sure, like I said, you know, I had to do a disarm, had to do a grouping technique, do a disarm, then do a takedown. Then do a walkthrough. I remember them all.
Let's talk about the FQI gauntlet. You said you went through how many of them? About 10? All the FQIs that were there?
Yeah, so but I know that when I did completion, there was more people because I think during that time it was in and we had both some of the old guys, you know, that don't train anymore. We had Frank Hess. We had possibly David Russell, and also what's his name from Canada? This is so bad, I can't think of his name.
Oh, yeah. I know who you're talking about. I see his face. Yeah.
He was there, and so there was a lot more people then. And I do remember that when I was working with George, when he was testing me, he slapped me in the face. He tagged me, but then I tagged him back, which you're not supposed to do, but I was like,
you tagged him back.
I was like, tag him back. And luckily, nobody decided to take me down into a grapple because that would have been the end of me. You know what I mean? I always still go, oh my God, I can't believe we're doing that, you know. And the guys go down on the ground, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
You know, so that wasn't something they
tried. Different dynamic there.
They did not try to me.
How was it? How was that gauntlet with GM Bobby? Did he take out the knife, or you know?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, he did. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he did. But I'm like, I don't have any scars. So it's always amazing because I know Joe always says, oh, I can't believe he does that, you know, or, you know what I mean? It's just like amazing that he still does that.
Yeah.
Even after Jeff.
Yeah. Yes. Jeff blocked with his arm is what he did.
Yes. I remember that clearly because that was at the South School where I was teaching. It was there where the test was. And one of Patrick's students, you know, they got the kid out, and we were like, oh wow, you know, but it's for real.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, I ended up with that blade too, and I'm like, oh, okay, we're, you know, and I wasn't sure how that was gonna go, but hey, you know, we roll with it. We roll with it and just block. Make sure you block.
That just shows truthfully the beauty of Bobby, that he really has control over you. Yeah. So he's guiding you so much. And that is the part I didn't until I really started to teach. The ability of you being able to lead your students and you controlling them and how you're guiding them. And Bobby really, really does guide you. And a side note to that test, I told you Patrick tested for, completion. Well, he always trained mostly privates with Bobby. And so when it came time for him to do his disarms or whatever, because, you know, you have to do them feeding them or being fed or whatever. But Patrick hadn't done it the opposite way because he was always being fed by Bobby.
Oh,
So some of it, you'll have to ask Patrick when you interview him. But some of it, he was like, that's the first time he ever did it from the opposite side, because he's always had Bobby training him. So that when Bobby talks about, you know, you need to have different hands and stuff, he's so right, because each person has their own language with their hands and how they guide you and how they, you know, what they're preventing you from doing even. See it. And that's the beauty of being with Balintawak for so long, that I can, like, you know, in the beginning, you're like, how can he watch that all the time? And how does he see those things? But you can, the more you, and then, you know, when, especially when you're watching the test, you're like, didn't so-and-so do that same technique on their
yeah, that's the off table talk, you know, discussions. Yeah. Like, hey, have we, you know, I've seen that.
Did they just do that one?
When's the last time you talked to him?
I talked to him about 3 weeks ago. He doesn't call you anymore. He always does like a video call.
You know,
always now.
Every time he calls me, you know, so when he calls me out of the blue, you know, I'm like, it's a FaceTime, and I'm like, then I think, did I do something wrong? Am I in trouble? I don't know why.
Yeah,
like, am I in trouble? What did I do? Or what did my friends do? I don't know, something.
He likes to see himself. I don't know. But he does. Every time it's like, what's going on? Who's that calling? Because I get some of those calls sometimes, you know, from people, and I'm like, oh, I'm not answering it. But I do always answer his call.
It's kind of funny because almost everybody's had, you know, he stays connected with everybody. That's why it's an interesting question to me. I was like, hey, when's the last time we talked to GM? Because I'm like, you know, especially in the FQI level, it's like we're actually all pretty well connected with him. It's pretty funny.
He came by a little while ago too to see Joe's new car, because Joe got that new Corvette. So Bobby had pictures with it and video, you know, it's like, so that's like, everybody has to see the Corvette. So that was, you know, so he's like, I'm going to post that this is one of my students' cars, or he bought me this as a gift. So, and that made Joe so happy. Show off that Corvette. I'm like, oh, dang, he sick. But
anyway. That picture is probably gonna show up in his book. Him in the Corvette.
Yeah, you might. And Lucy too.
There's any interesting, unique observations, experiences that you remember that you can share about Grandmaster Bobby?
There's so many funny stories, you know, about him, and you know, the time you kind of alluded to when that student from England wanted to be taught how to, you know, do, you know what I mean? Like, just treat me whatever. You know, and like the stick went through his front teeth. And Bobby calls,
you know, I've heard the version directly. Now that we're on it, why don't you share the story of this? This is a good. This is a classic, by the way.
He was training, you know, with us. He was here for a while. He was a tree guy or whatever. That's what he did. So anyway, he was just saying, I want you to train me the way they trained in the Philippines. And I guess Bobby said, do the Sinawali. And he threw the stick at this guy, and it hit him in his front teeth, you know? And Bobby called me up and he said, Sharon, can Joe see him? He said he got hit with the stick and he chipped his tooth. And I'm like, okay. So this guy goes to Joe's office, and Joe comes home and he says, oh my God. And he shows me the x-ray. So it's like this, like a semi-circle. You know what I mean? Like they're like this, but you can see like the guy had to have 2 root canals, 2 crowns. It was like a major thing, and he's just but he really didn't complain about it. And I think that the guy's boss paid for the dental work, but it was like, oh my God, you know.
Was that you said? Wait, you said it was circular?
Yes, because that you could see that the stick had gone, you know, hit that. It wasn't like chipped off straight. It was like this, you know.
So we're talking about like circular of the stick.
Yeah, like
because I thought it was like a V, like it cracked it like and just kind of broke it in half.
No, because the stick went, you know, the stick hit him like what, you know.
Oh man.
So, yeah, it was like he just chipped his tooth a little bit. And then
Joe was like, no, it wasn't a little bit. Yeah, no, I remember that. No, I remember that when that kind of kind of happened and the stories through it, and it was like, whoo, yeah, that's a classic story for a lot of people that probably, I don't know, the guys that, you know, I mean, this is one of the earlier stories I've heard of it. Now, any favorite GM Bobby quotes?
Yes, I love this one.
Oh,
he says, "This is the feeler, and this is the healer." I love it.
That kind of summarizes the whole.
I mean, like, so right, you know. So I tell other people all the time, I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm training," and like, you really use your left hand a lot.
Yeah.
You know, like just as much as your right hand. So whenever you switch to your left hand, your right hand does not know what to do because the right hand's not good at a feeler.
Oh yes. Yep.
That's one of my favorite.
All right.
And then of course when he says just enough, you know, no, quicker, no, not so fast. You know, it's like no.
Just enough faster or slower.
Okay, here's a little tidbit. So back in 1998, before you all were born now, there once was a land. Anyway, when Glenda Wolf got her full qualified instructor and Francisco had retested, Bobby came to my house and he was going to give them their dots on their thumb.
Oh.
You may not know this story.
No.
So I had bought the India ink and we had needles, you know, regular sewing needles. And so
regular sewing needles, not even like the needle.
Yeah, sewing needles. And so yeah, I should have got needles from Joe's office, but anyway, so
that's what I would have thought.
Yeah, so he did Glenda's double dots and he did Francisco's. And so they said, well, Sharon got completion. She should get one dot. So he did me. Can you see? The one dot.
The one dot,
okay. Yep. So Bobby did that one dot. And for years and years, I was the only one that had one dot. The question is, why don't I have two dots? Because Bobby never did my other dot. But as you know, now, starting maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I must have told the story to somebody. And some of the guys now, when they do completion, get the one dot. Have you seen it?
Yeah, no, I've seen a lot of people with one dots, and yeah, I see that. But yours was put in by GM himself.
Yes. Yes.
That's a difference there.
So we have pictures of it, but here he is with reading glasses, and you know, and he's, you know, just like prison.
with the sewing needle.
Yeah, you know. And so anyway, I'm going to finally go get a second dot, but I'm thinking about, you know, on the flags that we have, that Bobby has at his house, the dots are red, and on some of the old T-shirts, the dots were red.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. Actually,
I need to get one red dot.
Oh, we're gonna level it up or dots. Actually,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But you know, Bobby was going to do it for me one time. Did the second dot, but he hasn't. So anyway.
Yeah. Maybe
so that's the story behind the one dot.
How has Balintawak impacted or influenced you?
Well, it's given me, as a woman, more confidence, you know, feeling, I don't know, because just more confidence in general, And not just like, oh, I'm not worried about going out because I could beat somebody up, and not that, but just, to be able to talk to people, be around all different kind of people, because there's a wide variety of people that are training, in sticks, and knowing that you can go different places and know somebody. I went to Australia when my daughter-in-law was doing a semester abroad, and I had lunch with Garth. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
You made it down to Australia. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I didn't get to train with them or anything because I was just on a, visit, but it was just like neat to know that there's people around the world that, do this art, and it's just, I don't know, it's just changed my life with that, like I said, and being able to, I would say, it's a full body art. So it's a language. So you're doing things with your whole body. And so it's a good way to be able to have movement, exercise, which is fun. And then also it gives you endurance, because it's really that quick training, where you're going boom, 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 boom. And, you have to be able to have a good cardio for that. And there's a little bit of pain that goes with it. So, not to focus on it. Like if you, get hit in the head, you don't go, you know what I mean? Just keep playing. So in life, when things come up that are going to knock you down, you're just like, hey, I'm going to get up, I'm going to keep going. And so it's really, there's a lot of lessons to it if you want to read into it. But those are the kind of things that I take from training Balintawak.
Awesome. Did you have you made it to the Philippines? I mean, you made it as far as Australia.
No.
Oh, you're like just another right over.
Yeah.
I was just
talked about it, because wasn't that going to be the camp?
Last year.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be last year. Then the whole pandemic situation.
Right.
Oh, yeah, that would have been epic. That's that camp. How has Balintawak influenced or impacted your students?
I would say in particular that one student, Carrie, who is, she's now going to turn 29 this year. But, when I met her, she was a teenager. And I think it gave her a lot of confidence, because she was really kind of shy and stuff. And I think that helped with her. I say women in general, it helps with their confidence and showing them a way to have power without, you don't have to be masculine to have power. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's part of it. What's nice about it is like, I can show power, whatever, but I don't have to look like a guy doing it, I still wear my lipstick. So anyway, but I think just, I think it's influenced them with that, and also to be in a community with people that maybe, some people, there might be quite a few people that are in the system that maybe didn't have an easy way in life. Anyway, they might not have been the most friendliest, you know what I mean? They may have not been the one that like, hey, you're like the popular one. So it's given them a community and learn to be in a community. So I would say maybe that would have an influence on them in their life.
Yeah. For women that might be interested is there, if you were given 30 seconds to quickly share the benefits of training Balintawak to women or just anybody in general, what would you say?
I would say all the things I had said about it's a good physical activity that builds on your strength, gives you.
Sorry.
She wants to know. She wants to know.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's a physical form of expressing your body with, learning to have a lot of strength and things like that, but also maintaining who you are. But the thing about Balintawak, you can add part of what you brought with it. And I would say for women, it's a good art because if you learn it correctly, you can master it and you can be very powerful without getting hurt.
Okay.
Small circle. It's best small circle for women. Not to, that's what I'm going to say.
And it'll be up to them to figure it out once they're in the art.
Yeah.
Small circle it is. What do you think will be the hardest part about learning the art?
For me, in the beginning, I had no clue what any of the thing was, but that was like, what do you mean by that? So I say the best way to learn it is with 3 people. One person who's observing and 2 people that are doing. And then you can switch around. So you can see all points of it, because if it's just the 2 of you, it's hard to see. So I always think that it's best to have a 3rd person in the, when you're learning it. One of the hardest things, I guess everybody's going to say, is having a student continue all the way through. That's got to be the hardest, is to keep somebody engaged, interested, and, wanting to go all the way through to the end.
Yeah. Best of the best or Rambo?
Rambo.
Gladiator or Braveheart?
Braveheart.
Terminator or Predator?
Terminator.
Who would you want on your team in a zombie apocalypse? John Wick or John Wayne?
John Wick.
I had to think a little bit of that one. It's like, yeah. All right, so Family Feud type questions. Name something people are likely to see at a Balintawak World Camp.
T-shirts.
What'd you say, t-shirts?
T-shirts.
Okay. Yes, that is correct. Name something people need to bring at a Balintawak World Camp.
Their money. Their sticks. Yeah.
Name something people don't need to bring at the Balintawak World Camp.
Their spouse.
People probably why might someone be jumping at World Camp?
When Bobby goes for their feet with a stick.
Yep. What advice that happens quite a bit. What advice would you give for a do and don't when attending the camp?
Do bring snacks and water with you.
Yes. And
don't expect to get out on time.
You know what? That just summarizes the whole event. So if people were interested in contacting you, how would they be able to reach you?
Mostly through the messenger on Facebook is really a good place to shoot me a message, because I'm really pretty good about seeing those and messaging people back.
Thank you very much for signing on and agreeing to the interview. It's actually been really fun to get the insights there of your journey.
Thank you so much. It was fun. It was fun. I really appreciate you asking me to do this, and it was great fun.
Yep.